Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christian with PerfectStockAlert.com, a 100% free service for smart investors and traders. Today is Thursday, October the 28th, 2010, and like we do every night, it's time to look at the markets. Check this out. Okay, if you traded yesterday's market, you basically traded today's. Not a lot of difference. We saw a little bit of the upside in the Dow Jones Industrial Average today, first thing in the morning. That quickly erased. The market just sold off pretty good as we're finding resistance at that major resistance line of the previous high before the flash crash. And that's across the board. We're looking right now at the FTSE long-term chart, London Financial Times Index. We're going to show you all these different charts, but they're all showing the same thing. Everybody is up here flirting with that previous resistance line right there, made from this previous high there, and they're backing away from it very strong. And you'll also notice something more important, I believe. This RSI signal here, whenever the RSI gets up to the 70 line, this line right here, it's known as extremely overbought, right? Okay. Whenever you get up to that level, you can expect that you can stay up there for a little bit, but sooner or later you're going to pull back away from that. The only time that this is a condition that can be sustained is when you have strong buy volume behind or something like that. All right, so back here we ran up there again. We didn't have good volume in it. We were overextended, like we were from here. We ran up here like this, and we said, okay, kill it. You can short it, and she's going to go down. Well, that's exactly what happened. Now here we are again, running up there again. This time, note the RSI is actually not going to the 70 line. It's about peaking out the 60 line at 65, that area, and rolling over now. That's an important item to note. You've seen it back here as well. Okay, you see up here you hit the 70 line. Then at this point you went up here, it didn't go to the 70 line, you started rolling over before that. This happens in a bear market. Oh, that's right. We expect this to be a bear market, therefore this should happen like that. Makes perfect sense. You want to keep an eye on this. If the Fed comes out and says something that that encourages the market for a few days and you get a blip to the upside, seeing a higher series of highs, but still remain the lower series of lows. The lower series of highs on the RSI like this, the high point here and the high point here. If this remains like that, it would be a bearish divergence and it would be another one of these. Alright? You were still having the same time frame, higher highs, but you were still getting this. Alright? Basically, it's just yet another major sell signal out there telling you you are in a bear market. You should not be trusting this to the long side. I understand why a lot of people were buying back during this time frame here and here. They saw the oversold conditions. They were expecting a bounce, and they played that. That's for them. But at this time, you have to look around at your short-term 6-month daily charts and say, wait a minute, those conditions are no longer there to support that trade. What do we have now? Well, what we have now are overbought conditions, and we're seeing signs of this market pulling back away from previous resistance levels. So I'd be very cautious right here. Okay, here we are looking at the NASDAQ. You'll notice this previous extreme overextension above the 70 line there, right before your flash crash. Had a nice sell-off, and you're bouncing back up here. I want to note a couple things. First off, the high point here, the high point here. This is a pretty dramatic move to the downside there. At the same time, price activities come pretty close to actually being equal with the previous high. Right? Watch this carefully, or you might end up with yet another bearish divergence like you saw back here. All right, like we just showed you on the FTSE chart, it was back here as well. All right, this is basically setting up for a major sell signal in the overall markets. Okay, long-term chart of oil now. We're looking here at the RSI indicator. You'll notice this guy peaked back here. Okay, you've been bouncing around ever since then, fell off, and then you've been just kind of dragging along this game. But it's still, by the RSI indicator, still peaking way early of the 70 line. Here's where you peak when you get in a bull market. Here's where you peak when you're in a bear market. Okay, you're seeing the exact same thing. And again, let me clear that up. Sorry, let me clear that up. You're rolling over now on the RSI, even though price activity is just moving sideways. Right here, you can see you're rolling over right there, and price activity is moving sideways. And be cautious right here. Be very cautious. Still finding resistance to the major peak before. Keep that in mind, okay? All signs are not looking good for bulls in any way, shape, or form, as they're not even been able to reclaim an uptrend. Basically, you have an uptrend as long as the low points of a chart continue to trend higher. When they break down, like they did here, this becomes the line in the sand. For bulls to come back into the game, they've got to take out this point. If they don't do that, you remain in an extreme downtrend. This same setup is seen on many of your major charts out there. Go check them out. You see a series of low points continuously moving higher and then breaking down with that flash crash. And now everybody's trying to come back into that move back to the upside. But thus far, no bull has been able to push up through there and even put themselves their hat back in the ring. So at this point, if they fail to do this and the Fed doesn't give them some boost to the upside, they're going to adjust downwards very quickly. Another item to note on this chart, and many others out there, I won't go over them all today, but the oil chart here, the long-term 4-year weekly chart, note your high points, okay, corresponding with these times that the slow stotch pulls up above the 80 line right there, all right, and then crosses over, right, and then you've got the crossover right there. All right, pretty cool, pretty simple. Okay, quick look here at the Russell 2000 Small Cap Index. This guy had been on a tear for a while, but she's actually lagging the overall market, substantially so. You'll notice today that the week's not over, so this candlestick right here is actually a weekly candlestick, so it's not completely over yet. We got to see what happens tomorrow before we can call this what we're seeing right now. What we're seeing right now is a shooting star, a sell signal, and again, it's nowhere near where they got to have to break out in order to turn this guy around for them. Without doing that, these guys are seeing a double topping pattern and they're going to be moving lower. Again, note the RSI hitting the 60 line and rolling over there as opposed to moving up to the 70 line. Okay, when you're hitting the 70 line, that's normal bullish market. When you stop doing that and you start hitting these lines here, you're seeing these as resistance because you're in a bear market, and you're seeing that set up again right there. Okay, pay attention to that. If you've not been to our free website at perfectstockalert.com, it's right there. It's 100% free. All we ask in return, please refer a friend. A quick look at our disclaimer. Okay, before we look at the disclaimer, I'd like to invite everyone to our free website at perfectstockalert.com. We put in a new traders forum right there. Really awesome high-tech stuff there. Also, really good bulls and bears giving their analysis on different opportunities out there, different markets, and just everybody's got the same objective out there, and that is to bring a sound, logical opinion on whatever they bring, whether from a bull side of the table or the bear side of the table. But everything out there is really quality, and we really appreciate having everybody there. We'd like to invite you to be there with us. All right, pretty cool, pretty simple. Now let's look at our disclaimer. The disclaimer, read it and weep. The information provided here and you can read. All right, if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's free, and if you don't do that, we'll hit you with a stick. All right, awesome. God bless, take care. I will see you tomorrow.